We just want to welcome today. We got Darrell Stavros here and Kathryn Saganski. Was I close?
So bad.
Was I close? I didn't practice. What's pronounce it?
Saganski.
Saganski. So, Kathryn's here. She's the rep of, I guess, what's the title with Cheech Chong?
I work with Cheech Chong directly. And
Okay.
I'm kind of like the in-between for the licensees like Darrell, who's in charge of kind of like the Michigan activities that we have here in the market.
Okay, so Kathryn is like the big wig with Cheech Chong. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah,
She is the big wig. And then Darrell, we've known you for quite a few years, Darrell, right?
Years,
Yeah, we went back and forth, did a lot of business together.
Bailed me out of some situations in Florida, I remember.
Yes, we did.
We won't go there.
We did. Well, we might go there, but yes, we did. So why don't we just start out? I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, Darrell. Let's start with you, and
So, I got into the cannabis industry back in. I got a phone call in December of 2008, and I know you're like, man, that's a long time ago. Blake was probably in diapers then.
Yes. Yep.
And, I got this call, and they're like, hey, you still got that building? And I'm like, yeah, it's empty right now, but I still got that building in Ypsilanti. And they're like, well, we just became legal. It was like December 6th or 7th of '08. And that's about when I got the phone calls right there. There was a couple guys. One of them was my mortgage assistant, because I had a mortgage company that was in that building.
Okay.
One was my mortgage assistant, and the other one was Jamie Lowell. You probably heard that name before, but Jamie was my appraiser back in the day for doing mortgage appraisals. So the two of them basically called me and said, weed's legal now. What do you think of opening that as a dispensary? I'm like, are you sure it's legal? And they're like, yeah. And I've never smoked weed in my life at this time. I've never tried it, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
I got 2 college degrees, never tried it in college. So made it through all that. And so they called me. I go, well, let me check
with the city. Let me see what I can do. And I said, let's go over. We had a little meeting. They went over what the law is or what the act is for the medical on that. And I was like, all right, I think I know how to play this. So went to the city, and I originally bought that building in '94 from the Girl Scouts of Huron Valley. So it was a private club, non-tax at that time. And so I go to the city, and I'm like, by any chance, is my building still zoned as a private club? And they're like, yeah, you're still listed as a private club. I'm like, great, here's what I want to do. And so I kind of spelled out this whole cannabis thing, and the guy looked at me weird. He goes, weed? It's legal? I'm like, yeah, it just passed. I got my guys behind me kind of telling me, yeah.
Sure.
So I kind of walked them through that. And they just look at me and go, you're going to do it as a private club? I'm like, yeah. So we're going to follow the letter of the law, the act and stuff. You got 5 patients, went through the whole little thing with them. And we're only going to give them a place that they could, get their stuff instead of dealing in the back alley. Now they can come to this location. And so the city planner at the time's like, all right, I guess that sounds good. And that's all we got. So we jumped in January, started just doing it privately. Went through months and months, went to a couple little shows, but we never really said anything. We just were dealing with our real 5 patients each and kind of getting some cannabis around. It was almost like a social club back then at that point. And then we decided to host a big event, and it was called the Caregiver Cup. It was really the first competition in Michigan, and it was going to be in January of 2010. So we made it through the '09 year, kind of getting things organized and still doing little stuff. And then started planning that in the summer of '09 for January 1st I think it was 28th of 2010. I mean, we even had ads in the back. We were the back cover of High Times magazine, like 4 months running. So we were advertising this nationwide for this event. And I met with multiple police forces, Washtenaw County Sheriffs, Eastern Michigan Sheriff, because we were doing it at the Marriott at Eagle Crest, which is where Tommy Chung was actually staying for a Hash Bash weekend. So that that's all right. It's probably sold out by now anyhow. And but so we had that whole hotel set up to do this big conference with an actual event. We had educational people from all over the country and world actually coming and do educational stuff on cannabis. So it's so early. We're talking in 2010, and we asked them about smoking. Brought in the fire chief for that area, and went over these vape things. I don't know if you remember the old ones with wicks. So you had this little device, and it was a little whip that went, and you put your weed in there, and you just kind of suck through a hose. And that was like the old school vaporizers back then. So I was like, I got 40 of these that we're going to put up in this tent outside. And it was a 5,000 square foot tent.
What?
And so I pitched it to them, and they're like, all right, I think we could do that. And I'm in one of the planning meetings, and the fire marshal's like, well, I want to see everything about this. So I'm like, all right. I knew nothing about the thing. I gave him a device, and he Googled it, searched, did everything about it. And the day of the event, I have all these vaporizers set up there, and everybody's trying cannabis in this 5,000 square foot tent. And I look over, and the fire marshal's in there. And anytime someone didn't know how to use it, he walked up and started showing them because he knew everything about it. He's like, well, you put your stuff in here, and you go through there. He's in full uniform. He's going through
That's
it.
so cool.
And I'm like, man, this guy really liked how this is working out. So he helped out with some of that stuff. But then we had all the ballrooms booked with not vending spaces, but we had booths set up for kind of people like you guys, and like Hydro Store was there. Some people backed out from fear, but like Grow Green was the one that, if you remember who Grow Green was, out in Whitmore Lake. Now they're in Whitmore Lake. They're in Brighton at this time. They're like, yeah, we'll do whatever. And I gave them, since I had like 10 people back out, I gave them almost a whole room, and they set up a store. And it was a hydroponic store in there. So that kind of helped launch them into, at one point, they were the largest hydroponic store in almost North America, warehouse size wise. So that kind of helped them with that.
It's called Grow Green now, right?
It is, but now things have dropped so much that I think they're battling a bankruptcy and a bunch of other things right now. Still good group of guys. I mean, we kind of launched them through there, and a couple other brands. We had a glass blower. They actually let us do glass blowing in the ballroom. So beautiful carpet on the floor. They just said, and the fire marshal's approving this stuff too. So open flames. He wouldn't let us smoke in the place, but no problem glass blowing. So we set up like a stage, and it was a wooden stage, and we had fire extinguishers everywhere and stuff like that. And they let us do that experiment so people could walk by and see glass being blown and pipes and stuff like that happening. So that whole weekend we sold out of the event. It was great. I actually did not make money on that event because our advertising was obviously extremely high on a lot of that stuff. And I miscued the educational sessions. I was trying to charge for it, but none of our ads said that. So all of a sudden we were like, yeah, it's all free. So I still had to pay all these people. Everybody got into all the sessions for free, but everybody had a good time. We didn't lose money. We just kind of broke even on it, which was kind of nice. But it launched Third Coast at that time. So then prior to that actually happening, I think it was the December 31st. So New Year's Eve, we're all at Third Coast. And I start to see people outside, and I'm looking out the window, and they're like news crews. And I'm like, what the hell? I'd go out there, I'd talk to them, and they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. You know, we're just doing a story on the area or something. I'm like, okay. And then I go back in, we continue doing things. And then all of a sudden, a couple hours later, I start getting phone calls from people, and they're like, hey, you're all over the news. Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7. They're saying as of tomorrow, New Year's Day, you can get your weed legally at this place in Ypsilanti. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, everybody looks at me, and they're like, what are we going to do? I'm like, start calling some guys with weed. So literally back then, who do you call? You go to Detroit. I mean, it was back alley type stuff. And I called a couple guys. They're like, yep, just meet me here. We got as much as we could to prepare. And we wake up the next morning, there's a line wrapped around our building.
No
way.
And the guy that was, I think he was third in line, came from the UP. Literally from the Upper
Wow.
Peninsula. He saw the news. They was all over everything. And he's like, I want to make it there. He was trying to be the first one there. And he was like third in line.
Wow.
And our goal, you know, we only had like one strain. That was it. You see these dispensaries now, and there's hundreds of strains, all these different products everywhere. We had no edibles. We just had flower, and it was one. And I think by the end of the day, we had a different strain in. So we had maybe 2 strains, and that was it. I think it was lemonade was one of them, and I forgot what the other one was. But yeah, it had 2 strains. Our goal was just don't run out. So, you know, so we actually limited it to 100 people, and we'll say we're going to limit to 100, you know, just to make sure we can, you know, get everybody through. And we kept doing that.
So when these guys talk about being like an OG in the industry, You know, we're talking like Darrell's back in 2008, 2009, selling buildings out. So I mean, that's back in the day for sure.
That's definitely back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the first Colorado one actually opened in '09 also. Okay. So, even most people don't even realize we went legal the same time they did. So they just had a government that embraced it and put it out there. Ours was the opposite. So the same time weed passed in Michigan, we also got a full Republican-backed governor. Mike Cox was the attorney general at the time, which is hilarious because we started naming things after him. We had Mike's Purple Cox was one of the strains we had. And then we had, we went both ways, don't get me wrong. We had Jennifer Granholm's Kush. So those were two strains we had for a while during election time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Darrell is the OG
Yes, he is.
on the
He
scene
is.
here in Michigan, pretty much.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, Darrell's definitely the man. So you get through that. Yeah, I mean, here we are. I mean, this is like 15, 16 years. 16 years in the industry. I know you've had dispensaries and grows. And I mean, you've been in every, facet of this market, really, right? I mean,
Pretty much.
that you've
From processing stuff to growing stuff to I've tried everything. Being like yourselves, you guys are entrepreneurs yourself. That's kind of how I looked at it. And I'm like, where can we get in this marketplace and be in the right spot? So you try a bunch of different things. My original goal was, I'm going to be in retail because I understood retail real well. Yeah. So that's all I was going to do. And then I realized all these guys I'm buying stuff from, I built someone's Costa Rican swimming pool that overlooks the Pacific Ocean. He was bragging that, I just made $250,000 on that swimming pool. I'm like, no, you didn't. I did, because I remember giving you $1 million in like a 12-month period in $20 bills. So I'm seeing all these growers that were doing extremely well, and I'm like, man, we got to kind of pivot. I looked at this wrong originally, because I've always been retail. And it's funny because now it's coming back around. So retail is kind of where a lot of that's hitting hard now.
Yes.
Where the grows aren't doing as well, but early on it was the grows that were just killing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you just got to kind of move with the flow.
Yeah. Yep. Retail seems to be able to almost set the price, set the pace, and everything. Don't they? I mean, everybody else behind retail seems to be processors, growers. It's whatever price the retail outlet's about willing to give you is kind of what dictates a lot of price. Where it didn't used to be that way.
Correct. Yeah. The funny part is most of them have maintained that same margin in the last 15, 16 years. Those retail shops. Really? We always, if we bought it for $100, we sold it for $200. It's almost that way now. There's a couple of the border town ones that do a lot lower. They might be 40% margins, but most of them keep right around that same margin.
But the border towns are massive volume usually, though, too, right? So they're running on volume more than margin, but
Some of the busiest in the whole entire country.
The busiest.
The busiest. I
So
think
KOB.
King of Buns is first and second of the whole country for visits, like 62,000 or something.
I know they were like 5 months running the most volume of any dispensary in the United States.
Mm-hmm. And where's that at?
That's in New Buffalo. And then their other one's Monroe. But the New Buffalo one's the one that was really killing it.
They have each bottom corner of the state covered. To get Indiana, to get Ohio. We got people coming up from Kentucky, Tennessee.
Really?
They make the drive to Michigan.
Well, with the taxes in Illinois on anything over, I think it's 25% THC, you get a bigger tax. Any cartridges and stuff like that, they're all just hitting the border towns right there in New Buffalo and then going back to Illinois.
Yep. I know some of those UP stores up there on the West End, too, are doing amazing over from the Wisconsin people coming over.
I did a UP tour right at the end of fall, so I saw the fall colors up there.
Yeah.
And I hit a lot of those stores up there. And so the one, and I think it was Ironwood, they get Minnesota traffic, a lot of Minnesota traffic. I didn't realize they were only 45 minutes from Duluth.
Okay. Gotcha. Yep.
That seems very close.
It does, doesn't it?
That seems very close.
But if you look at the map and you see all the way over as far as you can go on the UP, you're across Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You're mostly across
You
Wisconsin.
really are.
Yeah.
Time to look at a map again.
Little history, that was, the UP was originally owned by Ohio. Yeah, that was the battle of, that's how they ended up with Toledo, we ended up with the UP.
The little jig-jag. So they got
It was a
Toledo.
great trade, wasn't it?
I think so.
One of these days we might take Toledo back, I don't know.
I guess, bring us up to date. What are you doing today in the cannabis biz?
So today, I ended up selling the dispensary in 2018 to these guys that I now work with again. I got bored after a while. So you sit there and, you think retirement's all good, but then you get extremely bored. So I actually met with Kathryn. I think you guys were working up in Lansing area. And we just started talking and stuff. She mentioned about the Cheech and Chong stuff. And I'm like, I got the perfect guy. And I actually took her to a couple different facilities to show them around and say, these guys can do everything. So we ended up settling with Distro 10, which was the guys that bought my shop originally. And they said, we'll do it, but we want you to stay on. And I'm like, I'll commit to 2 years. And it's fine. I'm already a little over a year in, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll be here at least another couple
You're not
more
going
years.
anywhere.
I'm actually
I'm
finally
not letting
having
that
fun.
happen.
Yeah, it's finally having fun. Like today, I went and visited, I want to say 10 dispensaries today. And, you go in there, and I sat at Herb for like a half hour just shooting the shit, kind of like what we're doing now. Right. Because everybody's interested in how everything started and things go. And, before it was all stress working in the shop or working in a grow, making sure something doesn't mess up. You're always kind of stressed about it. Now it's like, I walk in wearing this shirt, Cheech and Chong, and I'm like welcomed with arms. Oh my God, yeah. It's like the most recognizable brand you're ever going to see. I mean, none of the other brands have that.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome. So what do you have? This is some of the stuff you brought today. Some of these samples and stuff. Is this stuff in metric?
So some of it is a hemp derived side. So Cheech and Chong does both sides. So they have the THC side through us, which in that we have what's called a cryo infused pre-roll. So these cryo infused pre-rolls, a whole new process. We're the only ones doing it is through Cheech and Chong in Michigan and Arizona, because we also control the Arizona market as well. Our Arizona counterparts actually who showed us how to do this. So we're actually taking your distillate basically, and we're putting it through a cryogenic freezer to get it sub-zero temperatures. It turns it to a powder.
To a nice little powder.
Almost like that. So it's almost like you're making isolate, but it's not isolate.
Really?
And then we blend it into a flour pre-roll. So, and we're actually just using knocker boxes at the end, just to get it through. Kind of like when you're making a hash, dry sift hash pre-roll. It's kind of the same process. Okay. But we were hitting close to 60% THC in some of those pre-rolls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're
and they're
small
a lot
but
smoother.
mighty.
They're a true Cheech and Chong.
They're small but mighty.
Small but mighty.
And the benefit of doing the cryo process on it is you can make a nice homogeneous mix. So every hit is going to be exactly as the one before, where sometimes when you have the distillates, they can run, they can drip, it can get a little bit messy. You don't have any of that.
They're hard to build too, right? I mean, you got really fancy high-dollar injection machines and stuff.
Yeah, the machines make it easy.
They're still not, they're dirty, messy.
Correct. And like we won't, with this, we don't get the canoeing or the running and stuff you get with some of the injected, even with rosin and things like that. It depends on where it is in the joint. You're going to have it drip. You're going to have it do a lot. This is so smooth through. One time I had an ash that was that long, the whole ash, white as can be, like a cigar. You know how when you get a good cigar and you can get that ash really long? This would do that. Yeah. And like you can pull one out right here and you see like this, the size of this, it looks like it's a tiny because the filter's right here.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a full gram because it's getting the weight of the cryo infusion that's in there too. So, and this will last so much longer. Like I have like 3 or 4 of us will sit there and split one of these things, and it burns a lot slower, and you're hitting it really well. So I mean, these things are great.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So we are getting so right now we have those. We have a flour that we do, and we do our flour and experiences. So everybody's so strain specific on things. Cheech and Chong's finally doing it right, the way I say to do it. They got 6 experiences, and these experiences are based on terpene profile. So instead, so you might have in the Stadenko, you might have like this one. I might be able to see what's in it. Man, my vision's not that good. I love the metric tags these days.
Yes, you can't read them.
You gotta have magnifying glasses.
Yeah.
So
What's that?
Is it possible to grab my phone?
Yeah.
sorry, I talk a lot, but you can always shut me up at any
Oh, that's
time.
perfect.
That's what it's for.
But every time I sit down and have a conversation with Darrell, even though I've known him for all these years, he says that I'm like, I didn't know that.
I know that, right?
You've never told me about that event.
Oh, the original one?
The one at the Marriott
Oh, that was huge.
with the fire marshal teaching everybody how to use it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, he's just been doing it for so long that he's got more stories than he even remembers.
Darrell always surprises me. I mean, there's always some sort of surprise at a Darrell.
Most people don't realize I'm actually 95 years old. So, yeah, it's been so many years of doing this stuff.
The OG.
The OG. It's kind
It's
of
funny
hard.
because when I see some of the younger kids when I'm going to these dispensaries and stuff, I'm like, you know, I was 34 years old when I started Third Coast, and I'm 50 now. So it seems like I was young at that time, and then you know, so much has happened in those 16 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. With you and the industry, really, you know. So
You know, a little on the gray side now, you know. Things happen, but yeah, back to the experiences. So then, you know, I have actually Cheech's son Joey is the one that decides what goes in each one. So he decides, you know, here's, you know, certain OGs might fit this category. Strawberry cough will be in this category. So he goes through each one. We give him the COAs, and then from those COAs, he looks at the terpene. We have to have full terpene profiles, and then he decides which different ones will go into each experience. So if we run out of one, we have a different strain that'll still go in that experience. So a lot of times when someone like has a, you know, a sour diesel or whatever, and they love it, oh, it's the best thing I ever had, and you know, they go to the dispensary, and the dispensary is like, well, I'm out of it, and they're like, well, what's similar to it? Then that you get that bud tender thinking, I don't know, maybe a Chem Dog, maybe a this or that. In this case, if you're getting the Stadenko, you're getting anything that's going to have that same build, that same terpene profile is going to be it. The Love Machine is going to have the same thing, which is going to be more on that sativa side. You're going to have like the Drooler, just like it sounds. It's going to be more indica. The Lowrider is going to be more on that indica type thing. So you got these 6 experiences, and it makes it a lot easier to sell at that point too.
sure.
Instead of selling that strain, you're selling an experience.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know of anybody else really doing that I've seen. That's pretty. I mean, maybe there is places.
I haven't
don't know.
either.
haven't
So
seen anybody
the only
doing it.
place I see, there was one dispensary I walked into, Liberty Cannabis, I think it was called, and I walked in their lobby, and they had a whole wall of terpene breakdowns and what you would expect to feel from it. So basically that concept, but they're just talking about it in general is what they did. They don't sell anything based on that, but at least they educate. And I like some of the ones that educate because the education got lost when you went from medical to recreational. I hate to say that.
And that's one of the reasons that we did the experience styles in that manner. So one, we're going to be in different locations. We're going to be in Michigan. We're going to be in Arizona. We're going to be in Oregon. The flower's not going to be exactly the same. So how do you get a customer to understand what to expect in a bag if you want to buy that brand that's being produced by 2 different grows? Well, the way that we can do that is control it by saying this is the experience to expect when you have a strain that falls within this family profile. So Joey is Cheech's son, and he's heavily involved in everything. That's why our quality is so good. He's been doing this a long, long time as well, since he was little. And it's important for him to make sure that the consumer always knows what to expect. And something that we've always wanted to focus more on is education. We know that that's missing in the marketplace. And how do you move people to become educated on something? Well, you build it as part of what they're getting when they make that purchase. Okay, I like this Stadenko. Well, okay, why do I like that feeling? Well, let me look it up, and I'm going to go ahead and find out what terpenes are in there. Oh, it's an indica. It's myrcene. What does myrcene do? Let me look that up. So it's a way to really engage people in what the bag has to offer, both recreationally and also medicinally. Because at the end of the day, it's a cannabis plant that can do so much. The THC is great, but the terpenes are where you're going to get a lot of that benefit. So I love that you're able to go into any state that we're in and say, okay, I need a little bit of pep in my step. I need the Love Machine, which is one that we don't carry very often, and it's
Because
sad.
Who grows sativas these days?
Exactly.
Hardly anyone, because, oh, I want to grow the 8-week strain. I want to grow a 12-week strain, you know, because
all
you're getting the
about
same
production.
dollar amount either way.
Yeah, it's all about production. Yep, pumping
So
it out.
It's always tough to
Pumping
find
them
those.
out. Yes.
And that's why education, it is so key. And I hate the fact that not only Michigan, but most states are still THC driven.
Yes.
I mean, if you guys have seen the blogs lately on Facebook and stuff with that one place getting 41% THC in a flower, I'm like, come on. For one, that doesn't make it better than anything, if that is the case. If that is true.
But it's not. Come on. It's
I
not
don't
true.
think it's true either. But if it is true, that doesn't make it better. Like back in the day, green crack made like a huge wave all around, it came from California and then Michigan. Everybody wanted it. Every time that was tested, it never went above 15% THC.
Really?
But it was the other terpenes that are in it that give you that entourage effect. And that's what it is. I mean, you could have the lowest THC still make you feel the best you've ever felt versus something that's high, just, you're not getting the rest of the entourage in that. You're getting too much of that THC.
Which is just the psychoactive part.
Yes.
You want
If
the
that-
benefit
and
of
if it-
everything else that's in that plant.
Yeah, if that's the case, you might as well just smoke distillate.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. If
exactly.
you're not looking for an
Yep.
experience, you just want to get high.
Right.
And I really wonder, I don't have an opinion either way about if it's true or not. I think the THC is probably that high of a THC content may take away from the terpenes, but we haven't seen the test results to know if that's really the case. But years ago, my caregiver was growing Bruce Banner for me and consistently testing between 37 and 39. And I have a scientific background. I can read COAs. I asked for those COAs, and he produced them multiple times for a duration of, growing cycles. So I don't know.
Maybe
And
it's there.
he
Maybe it's
worked
there.
really hard to make sure that his strains had a lot of terpene profiles. So for him, when I was smoking that, it was very high in the THC. I prefer a much lower percentage, but it was so high in the terpenes that, it was.
Yeah, I
really
have no
wonderful.
doubt people can breed things
Yeah.
to get to that point. I mean, I know you can breed things to get to that point. But still, again, you want that full. I always look to see what that terpene levels are. So something over 3% terpenes, that's something I'm going to enjoy. It's like a cigar. I'm going to enjoy a good Cuban cigar. It's more for the taste and the feel you're getting right there than anything. It's the same thing with this. I'd rather sit and taste something
Right. Right.
versus just get blown out of my mind.
Right.
Right.
Speaking of that, so I mean,
Are we going to Florida?
no, it's not going for yet. So
Can't wait for this Florida
Let's,
story. I don't know what's about to happen.
So then we got drinks. You guys are in the beverage market too, right?
Yep.
And these drinks, these are hemp drinks.
Those are.
So under the 0.3% hemp law, so you're basically can distribute these anywhere in the country, really, right?
Anywhere the states allow it to be purchased. Absolutely. Yep. They're really great for people who don't have access because of the rules of the state that they live in.
Yes.
And they're the 3% or the 0.0.
Yeah, under 0.3%. Yep.
0.3%. Thank you.
Yep. So only that's 5 milligrams of THC is all in it.
Yep. So it's just the 5 milligrams of THC. So people who don't have regular access to cannabis, usually one is good enough for them. People who are heavier users, it's great. But these are the seltzers. We have other drinks in the line as well. We have energy drinks. We have like a peach drink. We have a tea that's really good. The Tommy Palmer.
The Tommy Palmer. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
the Tommy Palmer is delicious. And these are the seltzer waters that are fantastic. They're such a light flavor. It's literally just seltzer water. There's no sugar, no carbs, no gluten.
Really?
Really?
Okay.
And
They do taste great.
They do.
Even though
taste
those
great.
don't come from me, that's corporate
Yeah,
stuff.
but I mean, you can mix them up however you want.
So we're not pushing these a lot today. We're not going to push these a lot
Yeah.
today.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the gummies.
I think their biggest state is Texas, probably, right?
Oh, probably, and maybe
yeah.
probably Florida.
Florida and Texas.
Florida has to be
probably.
huge,
Yeah,
right?
well, all the rules keep changing everywhere. So these were really very popular in California. Well, now they're considered illegal after the emergency order that Governor Newsom put through. We can't sell these anymore. So just like with the stroke of a pen, things can change so quickly. You really have to be able to pivot. So we would love to sell them in California. People love them there, but and they're great because a lot of people are turning away from drinking alcohol when they're going out.
Yeah.
So I still have a can in my hand, or pour it in a cute little cup with some fruit, and I'm there vibing along with everybody else.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then it's the same thing with the gummies. We have a whole line of those. Those are the cruise chews, which are my favorite. Those are 30 milligrams CBD and 3 milligrams THC. Yes, and we have others
Those are
that
only 3
stronger.
milligrams THC?
Only 3.
And I could only handle 2 of those
Yes.
guys?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Huh, weird.
But we want to be, as a brand, we want to be available to everybody.
Yes.
And how do we do that with the rules and regulations that we operate under?
Yeah, it's tough.
So having the hemp line allows us to still have contact with people who want to try our products, but their state doesn't allow them to have any THC. And then we're so happy and excited when we can partner with people like Darrell and his group. Then we can get some good quality THC products into the regulated market.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting journey in itself because every single state has so many different rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
I've had to
It's
pivot
been
a few times just in Michigan on the hemp side, let alone the marijuana side and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, a few times back in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, they keep changing it all the time, and it's just it does make it tough to navigate. And then once you get something, it's like they took Delta 8 away in Michigan back a few years ago, and it's like everybody was geared up, just started moving Delta 8, and it's like we were even pivoting. It's like, okay, we were doing the conversions in our lab, started making Delta 8, start doing finished products. You literally have packaging on order, things in process, and all of a sudden, stroke of a pen, Delta 8's illegal in Michigan. It's like, what?
So you got to pivot so quick.
Yeah, so it's like, you just invested all this money, you have all this inventory. It's like, what just happened, And then that's happened, I don't know how many times, countless times in this, hemp and cannabis industry. It's not an easy business to be in, for sure.
Even in the cannabis side, on the same token of that, if you don't move quick on something, it's all of a sudden it's not popular anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm into moon rocks. Let's get them out. 6 months later, there's no moon rocks. No one wants that stuff.
Yeah.
But yet we're still waiting on packaging to show up or whatever. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, it's tough.
In our experience, like there's no like future sight of it. Like it was just you woke up one morning and it was an executive order, right? Executive order by the governor to take
No prep time.
no
No,
prep
zero
time,
prep.
no nothing, no like we're good. And then just woke up the next morning and
Governor rolled off on the wrong side of the bed instead of the other. Hey, I'm going to sign this.
Yeah. We, so we were down in Florida here, was it a year ago?
That's the Florida
No,
story.
Where's a year ago? Or was it 2 years ago?
It might have been 2 years ago.
2 years ago. We had a big booth down there. It was a big show.
Alternative products.
Product show. We're down there with one of our brands that we had at the time. We were, had all the stuff going, the samples of the show and everything. And so Darrell's down there. I think he's just hanging out in Florida. He comes over to the show for the day, and we're all there. Well, another one of our buddies had this new invention he just created, and it was called the Storm. The Storm.
Funny part is, I think I just gave that to her.
Did you?
Is it the cup?
So this is the cup story. Yes.
I have the cup.
She has that cup. Because
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, let's just.
I said, I want this out of my house. And I gave it to
You
her.
do not want
Okay. Well, now I need to hear everything, and I'm bringing it back.
I don't remember
We're
it, so you're going to have to
bringing
hear
that
it from
next time.
Mike.
Yes. So our buddy has this thing. He just invented it. He brought a couple to the show. Gonna try them out, and they come over. They needed I think they use one of our distillate pens. It basically it takes a 510 cart, and it screws on this device, and then you press a button. It heats the cart up, and it like vaporizes all of it, and like builds a whole cup full of smoke for you here, and you just sip it apparently. Suck it in, whatever.
Sip it.
Drown it. Yeah. So Darrell, he goes over.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was. We had actually two guys do it. Well, actually, the guy that was on our show here a while ago, Steve Scott, did it. He was down there as well. So Steve tried it, then Darrell tried it, and then it was was it a half hour later?
It seemed like 5 days later. Time just disappeared.
Well,
I think
Scott,
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Oh, wasn't that quick?
It was
I know.
quick enough to I watched you do it, and then I met with somebody, and then I looked over, and
We've seen Darrell over at the table. You know how they got a little table set up, like where you get something to eat at these conventions and stuff. And so Darrell's over there, resting his head on the table like this, not looking good. Then I seen him grab the trash can, bring it over, and then all of a sudden Darrell's puking over in the trash can, like in front of everybody. There's 1,000 people at this show just walking by Darrell, and he is
No one's caring.
no one really cares.
nobody's asking
He's
if he's
still
okay.
he's still blending right in.
No, I have sweat just dripping.
So we see him. We go over there, and my buddy Mark, he goes over there too, and we're like, man, Darrell, you're not doing well, And I mean, you couldn't even talk at this point. Like you were down bad. I mean, you look green. When they say people like green out,
Yeah, like that.
like
this shade of
Like
green.
this
Like
green.
this
It's kind of a
shade of
green.
green. That's exactly
it was
what it looked like.
It was. So and then Steve Scott, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
He totally disappeared, and we couldn't get a hold of him. Where
Called
he
him,
went.
texted him.
Well, he ended up went and got he got enough sense. He got an Uber. He was good enough to get an Uber. Ubered himself out of there back to the hotel. He left because he was down.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up having to escort Darrell out of the facility. Went and got him
3
in
inch
a
steps at a
vehicle.
I don't know how we found my car because I had to give descriptions where my car was.
Yes, we took Darrell.
I did drive. Don't get me wrong.
No. Drove Darrell to his house, which was, I don't even know, an hour away or something. Drove over there, dropped him off.
It was about 30 minutes away.
Oh
him in
my
bed,
gosh.
Got him all tucked in bed and stuff inside, and left him sit there. But it was, and that took a minute because it was, I think you're like to say baby steps on the way out. Like Darrell was.
It was 3 inches at a time.
I mean, like 3-inch steps is all Darrell could accomplish. And then we had to take some breaks.
for like
I was out of it.
1,000
It was-
feet.
It was bad.
I don't remember like hardly any of that.
What was in this cart?
It was just
You know how if you drink beer out of a straw, you really get fucked up? Excuse my language.
I've never drank beer out of a straw.
Exactly. But same concept.
Yeah.
So you're hitting it out of this, you're just getting everything so quick.
Oh yeah.
Instead of the little hit you get off a vape thing. It's like a bong hit, but bigger. Is kind of what it does.
You don't
Yeah,
really
but the
smoke.
concentrate.
Yeah.
I've
and the
never really seen
concentrate.
him.
No.
You've
Well,
had
the funny
a puff
part
or two
is-
in front of me, so I can't imagine him taking a hit that big in public.
Oh yeah.
You
Now,
were feeling bold
this
that
part
day.
you guys This part you guys
Yeah.
probably don't know. So after you got me back, I had a dinner meeting that night. that I had, and I still went to it. It was with Rory Gould, bless his heart. He passed away last year from Arborside. So he was in town. So I met him for dinner, and I was still messed up. Yeah, I was functional because I drove. And I got there, and of course ate everything in sight because the munchies kicked in. You know, we went to a sushi place and just devoured a bunch of sushi. You know, we talked business a little bit and things like that. And then I left, and as I'm leaving, I pull out. I'm not even 5 minutes down the road, and I pull into a Wendy's drive-thru. And I just ate a big meal. And I'm like, I need a Frosty. I need 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers. Get me some French fries. Yeah, that's how that night went. I just kept eating. But yeah, haven't touched that cup since.
Yeah, but now he just give it to you.
I was just gonna say it's at my house, so
Yeah, well.
I need to see this Hot Mess Express in person.
Yeah. Invite some of your friends over. Have them hit it. I don't think you want to do that.
Yeah.
And if you can find a rosin pen to screw in there, even better.
Of course, I have some.
Even better.
Take it straight to the dome. Jeez.
But it was funny because yesterday I get this text and it's the alternative product show in Miami. And I send it to him and I go, I thought of you instantly when I saw this text. And I'm like, I'm not going back. I'm not going.
That's awesome.
I've had a couple rough times with certain things like that. Overdo it a little bit.
What? So we got a bag of white powder on the table. Undisclosed white powder on the table. So get your knife and a credit card. So another story, Darrell. Right? Let's go back. What's this been? At least 5-6 years ago, probably. So 7.
God, it might even be longer than that.
Yeah. So there's a connection. Darrell became pretty good friends with George Young, the infamous Boston George, right? So
Yep. So that kind of came about. Everything seems to happen at Hash Bash. Hash Bash is coming up, by the way, first weekend in April, and everything seems to happen. So this ended up happening during that. Boston George got out of prison after 30-something years on that one. I think that last stint was 27 years on a 35-year sentence, which was his longest term that he had. So he got out. He met a good friend of mine, Uncle Stoner, so Bobby West.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So he met Bobby out in California. They were doing a bunch of things and kind of helping him, get back. Because you got to think, even though people think Boston George with the white powder, he started with marijuana. That's all he ever did.
Yes.
So he did that. Most people have seen the movie. And, he didn't even get into that until one of his prison sentences. He happens to be sitting in a prison cell with, in the movie, they call him Diego. But the real person was Carlos Lita. So Carlos was Pablo's right-hand man, kind of. So that's who he's in there with.
Went in with a bachelor's degree in marijuana and come out with a PhD in cocaine.
You got it. What George was really good with is the logistics side of things. He knew how to get things from one place to the other. And like I said, it was all weed in that case until he got to this. So they showed him the profit margins, and the entrepreneur he is. He's like, I don't care. Let's do it. Let's get this thing going. So, he obviously flies out there. You see, he says most of that movie is probably 90% accurate if you see that movie. He said what's off is some of the timing is off. So they made it to make it flow better for a movie. So like one thing might have happened here, and really it was over here. Things like that.
Okay,
Right.
Yep.
But the story itself is pretty accurate, pretty true.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, 90% of it was pretty accurate. So he gets they bring him out to Hash Bash to speak at Hash Bash, and that's kind of when I meet him. And we just kind of clicked. It was kind of weird, and I think it was an entrepreneurial type feeling that you have. Nothing to do with drugs. It's just he was an athlete too. In college he was a football player. He actually had a scholarship in college to play football. So he kind of got into this because of the money, of course, is how things happen. So we kind of clicked at that point, and I said, I can help you out, and I got him a bunch of appearance fees and started getting him around, and we just started talking. He invited me out to California, to some other places and stuff, and then he was in Manhattan Beach, and George died broke. I mean, he got out of prison, he had no money. So anything we could do, we were helping him out as much as we could. So he was getting kicked out of his hotel that he had in Manhattan Beach there because he was out of money. And I'm like, we mentioned one thing, why don't you come out to Michigan? And not thinking it would ever even happen. And all of a sudden he's like, he ends up going to a party. Johnny Depp ends up hosting him at one of his houses and brought a bunch of, are we PG on this or what are we at?
No,
okay.
absolutely.
All right, good. So he ends up going to this party and Johnny Depp has a bunch of hookers there. And so he meets a bunch of them, and this puts him up, lets him stay in the house, and gives him a cell phone. So Johnny really took care of him to a point too, because they had a good connection too. Yeah. And then from there, he flew to my house, and moved in. So he just came and he lived with me for like 6 months. And the funny part is, a couple of those hookers kept calling, because he had a good connection with them. Nothing to do sexual. But he was like, yeah, they're like my kids, I feel, is what he said. And he's just like, I hear some of the conversations he's having. These girls really liked him. And again, nothing sexual. It was just the conversation. And Johnny called a couple times too. That's why he gave him that phone. And
Yeah, I heard Johnny kind of give him his own phone or whatever, right? For him to call.
So, and Johnny's sister would actually call to try to talk George into convincing Johnny to get rid of that girl he's with. So it was all before the whole thing broke out with what's her name?
Amber Heard?
Yes.
Yes.
So no one even knew about that, but we knew something was going on. Well before, like a year before any of that came out. And because his sister kept trying to get him to, you got to get rid of that girl, you got to get rid of that girl. And it didn't happen for like a year and a half later, but then it went news. But yeah, she was bad from the get-go, from what we were hearing. So, but yeah, so he lived with
I've
me for
always
6
wondered
months.
about
and
that.
the stories,
Now I know.
yeah, now you know.
'Cause I believe him.
But the stories every day with George sitting there, it was like, story time on my front porch is what it was.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. We never made it down to meet George. We kept gonna come down and try and come down, come to dinner, whatever. We ended up with some memorabilia out of the deal. We got we got a Blow DVD that got autographed by George and stuff. We got and some different things. You got a couple T-shirts or something.
Yeah,
It's different things.
George Young T-shirts, different stuff, whatever.
I saved every one of his voicemails still on my phone. Like it's I don't want to get rid of them. It's like some of the conversations, like if you go to my phone here and just look at my voicemails, I'd hate to lose this phone.
Well, you should record those on something else.
Back those up or something.
But like literally, look at this. Look at this. George. Look at all these voicemails, all the way to here. And I mean, like some of them are just like, I'll just randomly pick one here. Oops. I hate when you hit two buttons at once.
Call, please.
That's just a normal one. One of them, you can tell when he's drunk.
Sonny boy. I wasn't gonna do this, but I had to call. It's the devil in me. That son of a bitch couldn't even coach a Pop Warner football team.
So it was a Michigan game that was lost.
It's time for the alumni to dip into their pockets and get themselves a fucking coach. I love you. I hope you stay warm by the fire, and all is good for you. And I want to thank you for everything you did for me. For sure, a wonderful lad.
Typical Boston George right there. So that was in 2019. So he's talking about Harbaugh.
Yeah. That's so sweet.
Early Harbaugh, it was rough. You know, early Harbaugh was rough.
Was he a Michigan fan, or did he become one
He's a
living
football
with you?
fan. He became a Michigan fan more living with me
Yeah,
for sure.
I bet.
But he was a football fan in general. But yeah, just great stories. He was an alcoholic, so that was a little issues. But I mean, one time I don't know if I told you guys this story, but I would say I'm one of the few people that have seen Boston George naked, but that's not true. It was, I think, 4 a.m. I was sleeping, and I kept hearing George yelling, "Rhonda, Rhonda," you know, yelling for his girlfriend. And so I get up, get dressed. I walk out of my bedroom. He's buck-ass naked, using his clothes as a pillow halfway up my stairs. So I literally had to carry this 75-year-old naked man the rest of the way up and get him into bed. And everybody's like, so did you cradle him like this? Or did you lift him up over your shoulder? I'm like, neither. If I was cradling like this and if I tripped, it's just that's never going to be good.
That would be good.
That's never good. But yeah, there were so many different George stories. You know, he was a great guy.
He must have just picked up the alcohol when he got out of prison, right? I mean, couldn't have a drink for like 27 years, right?
That's what actually saved his. I mean, he would have been dead. I hate to say it, a long time ago, if it wasn't for prison, because he ended up dying of cirrhosis. So they told him, if you don't stop drinking now, you'll be dead in 6 months. Well, in George style, he lasted 1.5 years, and he kept drinking. At that time, but they pumped liters and liters of fluid out of his kidneys and stuff. But it was just. He just kept drinking. But he was at that point in his life, he didn't care anymore.
Yeah. He's gonna enjoy life, what life he had left, right?
Yeah, he ended up back where he started. So he ended up back in Weymouth, Massachusetts. And that's where he died. So it was about a month before he called me, and it's one of my regrets too. He wanted to go down to Florida, and I was so busy because that's how we are here. I'm like, I'll get you down there. I'll head out there and we'll drive down. And I just never made it. And he ended up, then Rhonda came back, of course, and he ended up staying there until I did talk to him the day he died. It wasn't much talking, but you can kind of hear him, breathing, but he was pretty much gone at that time.
Okay. Huh. Be darn, because they ended up cremating him and putting the ashes out there in the
both coast.
Both coasts.
Yep. So some in the Pacific Ocean and some in the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. So I still have his loafers at my house if you want more memorabilia. It's the stuff that got left at my house. I'm like, those were George's shoes. I actually have a manuscript too. Oh, really? Yeah, that's in my office.
Because they wrote a book, right? Was it Tuna? With him and Tuna wrote a book together?
No,
he wrote it?
No, he did a book with a actual kind of ghostwriter guy that wrote the book. And that's what became the movie. But then after that, it was George Porter, I think who the author was of that. And then he did another one that was really rough, still needed to be finished. And that's the one I have, actually, is that manuscript sitting in my office. But I think it still needs to get polished if it's ever going to do anything. But I don't know if I have an only copy or what. I just happen to see it in there. It's in a binder, like a blue binder, and it's a manuscript. Yeah. I'll be darned. So if Blow 2 does come out, it's going to be produced by Darrell Stavros. No, I would never do that. No.
I want to see that.
Because they talked about doing something, a whole series after prison. And the documentary was filmed. Yep. A lot of it was filmed at my house, and you never see me in any of it. You see Bobby West, Uncle Stoner's in a couple episodes. You'll see him. So I don't know if at one point, I haven't even watched it. That's the funny part, is I haven't even watched a 6-part docuseries. Did you watch it?
I seen like the trailer for it, and it's George talking and stuff, but I don't know if it ever got released or where it's at. Is it okay?
Get it on a couple of the different things still now, either Amazon or Tubi or one of those that you can get it on. You might see my nose in one of them, but I don't know. For some reason, they cut me out. I don't know. I always get cut out.
I didn't know they filmed at your house.
A lot of it was, yeah.
Wow.
Because he was living there. So, and then we took him to the strip club. We got some footage from the strip club. I took him to the strip clubs. That was for Legends in Detroit. To me, that was still, they did that classy. I mean, I hate to say a strip club did something classy, but we walked in, and George is he's all dressed up in a nice suit and stuff, and we walk in, and every screen on there had Blow playing, and a Frank Sinatra song as we walked in playing. It was like you went back in time almost to a point. And people that were at the strip club, you would think would never go to a strip club in their lives. Old ladies were there just to see George. They just wanted to see Boston George. So a bunch of old ladies were in line too.
So they obviously knew you were coming.
Yes. Yeah. So that was one of the paid appearances we did. So.
What a job.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I usually say, you guys have seen Forrest Gump, right? And Forrest Gump's always at the right place at the right time. You always see him in these different scenes. I'm Forrest Gump. I'm just as dumb. Don't get me wrong. I've met like 4 presidents. I mean, I've done the same thing he's done, most of that stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's like, you just happen to be there. The people that you run across, whatever.
4 presidents?
Let's see. Well, candidates, I'd say 2 presidents, 2 actual presidents, and 2 runner-up. I call them runner-ups.
I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, so McCain, I shook his hand and met him and his wife when he was running. Bill Clinton was the funny one. So Bill Clinton was, I had this, where the dispensary ended up being, so the same building. We had before the mortgage company, we had a consulting company there and a computer company. And the president of the computer company's wife used to be an intern for Bill Clinton.
Oh, really?
And I used to pick on her all the time. She's beautiful. She was a cheerleader at Rochester Hills High School. So beautiful girl. And I'm like, all that stuff with Monica Lewinsky came out, and I kept asking her, I was like, did he ever flirt with you? She's like, no, he was always professional. And I'm like, there's no way. So then all of a sudden we hear that Bill Clinton's coming to Ypsilanti. He's going to be at Abe's Coney Island. Abe's Coney Island is 2 buildings down from mine. So we're like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to go over there. So we went over there, and we're just standing outside as he comes in, and he's walking into Abe's Coney Island, and he looks over, he's like, Amanda! Goes right to her, and I'm like, bullshit. She never said anything.
Nice. That's awesome.
So that was that one. And then, Bush Sr. So I was down in Dallas speaking on activity-based costing for manufacturing and distributors. I used to have a professional career well before we had.
You had a real job?
I had a
at one
real
time?
job
Really?
at one point in life. So
You had a lot of real jobs
yeah, I'm
before
there.
cannabis.
I did.
Very different.
So I'm down there as one of the keynote speakers, and they said, well, we got this, we're not saying who it is, but they're going to come speak before you. And all of a sudden, Secret Service comes blocking everything. I'm like, what's going on? And there's H.W. Bush walked by, he looks at me, shakes my hand, goes on, and I had to follow him. That was all I'm thinking the whole time is, I have to speak right after him. What's going to happen here? I mean, I'm like, I don't know. And he's hilarious, by the way. His son was running at the time.
Okay.
So, and he did an impression of Dana Carvey doing him, and it was so spot on. I was dying laughing. He's like, I'm not gonna do it, and he's like literally the whole little Dana Carvey thing he's doing. And he had the whole Star Wars thing entryway, so they had this big thing, stormtroopers come in and all that before he walks on the stage. And then after all that, I go to my session. I had none of that.
Right?
I walk up there, first thing I say, I looked at everybody and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna follow this, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And everybody just laughed at me. So that was the second president. And then when I was a kid, Phil Graham ran for president too. I met him and his son way back. So I'm always in the right. It depends on where I'm at.
You are.
Yes.
Yeah. Right spot, right time.
Whether it's Abe's Coney Island, Dallas, Texas, wherever.
Right.
None of it was planned.
Meeting Boston George. And
Boston George.
That's pretty.
Yeah, so you met him at the Hash Bash for the first time? Okay.
Yeah.
That's how the bromance started.
That is. I've talked to him before that, so I knew he was coming. Obviously, Bobby hooked me up and stuff, and we kind of helped him out. I got the hotel for him and all that stuff. So.
Did the Hash Bash invite him out to speak?
No, I just said we're going to bring him out to speak.
Cool.
Hash Bash is always kind of a little loosey-goosey to a point. So, and it was funny because we got there and they didn't want Boston George speaking at Hash Bash at all. So the only reason he spoke was Adam Brook always has the first 5 minutes. That's him. No matter what, they can't kick Adam Brook out from speaking. So Adam gets up there and he goes, "I'm going to yield my time to a friend of mine, Boston George." And he brought George out to speak.
No kidding.
way.
Epic.
Because they were all, it's cocaine, it's this. But cocaine was such a small part of his life. It was the end part. but it was a small. But I mean, he was big into marijuana for a long time. That was kind of the big bulk of him was marijuana. And his bust that actually, that's why I said some of the timing was off. The bust that actually got him that last sentence of 30 years or that he served 27 was 3 pounds of marijuana.
Oh, really?
Yes. It wasn't cocaine. It was 3 pounds of marijuana. Now, it was third offense, 3 strike system is what that was.
For 3 pounds of marijuana?
Yeah, so the actual cocaine bust that you see, that happened, but that happened well before, and he only did very little time at that because he informed on Manuel Noriega and some other stuff dealing with the whole Panama stuff.
Okay.
So, but again, that got him another strike, and then,
So the movie wouldn't have been nearly as cool if you
Correct.
got busted with 3 pounds of marijuana.
Correct. And then the funny part of that story is, so that agent that busted him, he was a new DEA agent in his mid to late 20s. And it was just pure coincidence where it actually happened. Because I heard the real story. And the reason I heard the real story is he's a police chief in Plymouth, Michigan.
No way.
Yes. So he's retired mostly. He's an older guy now. And me, George, and him had brunch in Plymouth. So I could hear the real story of things.
Really? So you got that
Wow.
video with the guy that busted him?
Yes,
What?
the guy that
Says
busted him.
this all nonchalant.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm
Not a
talking
big
about.
deal.
Not a big deal.
We just hung out.
And he told the story of, he said what they did back, and they were in Fort Lauderdale, and what they did back then is they had kind of like informants, but they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go buy this guy a spaghetti dinner, and he'll tell us where he gets his stuff from. And so he got a bum and said, yeah, this is where I'll take you to where I get it. Well, he takes it to the spot where he gets it, and George is in the background, and that guy was a friend, knew who George was, so he was a friend of George, similar to how the bust was on the TV. So after they did the whole thing where he did the buy right there, George was just in the background, and he's like, yeah, I want to buy some more later, and they left. That's when the guy says, you know who was in the background, and kind of explained who George was to him. So that's when the whole setup had to happen. So they started building a long case on that to, keep coming back for George. So then that officer, he tells the story, he goes, we needed a house that he would come to. And so they had a realtor friend of theirs that had a house that was listed or something and had the code to it. So they went to that house and pretended it was his house. And he goes, yeah, George never even caught on it. None of the pictures on the walls had anything to do with him. They were another family. And there's this little dog that kept biting his leg, and he was kicking it off. He's like, it's the wife's dog, doesn't like me. The dog had no clue who he was.
No way.
And that's where they did one of the buys, was in this big mansion,
No
thinking
way.
it was his place.
Wow. Wow.
And none of that made the movie, but that would have been funny.
That would have been.
Wow.
So, but again, he didn't get the big time of serving time was the weed thing afterwards.
That's interesting. The true story, right? And that guy's in Michigan. That
Yeah, he's
is
police chief, Plymouth, Michigan.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
A small world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So literally from my house to where he lives is probably 15 minutes.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, when George was living with me, he was 15 minutes away from the guy that originally busted him back then in the 80s, late 80s or whatever, because that was back then. That's why I said the time frames are off.
Right.
Then it was the 90s, I think, or something when he got the charge with the weed. And that was in Boston.
Oh, okay.
So back home.
He got caught for the 3 pounds of weed in Boston?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Outside
guess
of
I didn't
Boston.
realize that.
No one would.
Back in
Yeah, it
that
wasn't
back in
a
that
movie.
day, yeah. Yep. Big
That's
deal.
crazy to think.
Yeah.
Like the third strike, but just 3 pounds of weed is what got him
Yeah.
that time.
He tried to play it off like he was an informant, and he bought that through the government. You know how George liked to talk things around, trying to get rid of it. I did this as a even though it wasn't. And it's funny because when we had him out and he's at my house, and he's like, man, I'm just so broke. Let's go get a plane. I'm like, George, you can't steal a plane like you did back in the day. It's not like back then. He's like, dude, I still got people in Mexico. We can fly down there real quick. And I'm like, George, we cannot do that. It was easy back when you did it. They have things called GPS now. I don't know. It's like, no, you fly under the radar. I'm like, okay. Yeah, that stuff just doesn't happen anymore.
No.
No.
It was so easy back then. I mean, to pull something off like what he did, I don't know if it's even possible.
No,
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
No.
No.
not with technology.
No.
If it was, I would
everywhere.
have figured it out by now. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Exactly. We'd be doing it.
Right.
that's cool. That's some awesome stories you got from him. You know,
that's
that's
crazy,
That's pretty
yeah.
cool. The behind the scenes story, as far as
Yeah.
that goes. But
Yeah.
but yeah, this is CBD isolate, by the way,
Yes, that is
Yeah.
CBD.
just for any viewers.
Clarify this.
Let's just clarify this.
Legal.
Legal,
Yes.
And that has-
100%
and
legal.
That has no THC.
No THC in it. No
Correct.
THC.
We're surrounded by legal products
Yes.
Yep.
today.
So I don't get beat up over that.
Yeah.
But, well, it's awesome, guys. What else? What else you got? We got anything else we got to talk about today?
I mean, there's a lot of things. I could go on and on. How much time? How much time do you have? So I mean, I'm always full of stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I like hanging out with Darrell. He's always got. He's always got a good story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he dropped that so casually.
Yeah. It's everything. I've
Uh-huh.
known Darrell for I don't know how long. I mean, obviously you've known each other longer,
Yeah.
but I've known.
You were in high school.
Yeah, I was in high school,
were in high
and
school, so-
every story is nonchalant, and you never hear the same story twice.
Yeah.
And so
You
is
don't.
no.
Well, it'll be before this whole Cheech and Chong thing. It's just like, yeah. So Tommy Chong was at my house the other day, and we were.
Yeah.
I was like,
We were hanging out, went to
wait,
lunch
what?
and stuff, and it's like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, back up.
She was there last time he was at my house.
Mhm.
You just weren't there the first time, but yeah.
He likes the porch.
He does. How many cameos did he do on that front porch?
A few.
Because you know you can pay for a cameo. He was sitting there as Mother's Day, and he's just doing cameos.
Working. Yeah. He
There
just-
might be a couple where I walk inside the house, but in the window and wave.
Oh, Brewster is definitely in the background
Oh, yeah,
of a
your
few
dog,
of them
yep.
because Darrell has this amazing porch. It's perfect for sitting and telling stories. And it was Mother's Day, so it's May, and it's sunny.
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful out.
All that land in front of you. It's an old horse.
I've been there.
pasture.
Yeah.
I've
You've been
sat
there,
on the
okay.
porch.
Yeah.
I've had a couple drinks in the porch. Yeah.
Yeah. So but he wanted to come back and visit the house because he was in Michigan for an event. And I brought Darrell along for dinner
Yeah.
because he hadn't seen him in a while. And he's like, "Do you still have that house?"
Yeah.
And so we made a point on Sunday to come over and just kind of hang out for a little bit. They came and picked me up before we started the day of activities that we had planned. And he just walking back and forth.
Yeah, he
enjoying
loves
the
it
sun,
out there.
filming his little cameos. So I know my dog's running around in a few of them.
When I was in Chicago with them at Benny's, they did like a grand opening for those drinks. And both Cheech and Chong were there. And so he sees me and they're sitting in these thrones. And all of a sudden, Tommy's like, "Cheech, I got to tell you." And he starts going off about my house for like a good 20 minutes. And just talking about my place. He loves my place. He goes, "Cheech, you got to go there. You got to go check it out." So, but yeah, I always said I wanted to do something like this, a podcast, but on my front porch. And I was going to do live at Darrell's house, but fuck, Darrell Hall took that name.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Have you ever watched that live at Darrell's house? So Darrell Hall and John Oakes, the old musicians, but he had a whole reality show called Live at Darrell's house.
Okay.
Really?
So I can't even use that.
Yes. Yeah. We'll come up with a new name
Yeah.
for you. That's fine.
But
It's
you've
fine.
had so many conversations with just
I mean, the people that have
amazing
been
range
there.
of people out there.
Yeah, Kyle Cushman's been out there. The real Tuna, not from Blow, but Bobby Tuna's been out there. From Black Tuna. He passed away last year too, or 2 years ago. He's been out there. Wu-Tang, a lot of Wu-Tang's been out there. Obi Trice has been out there. The Obi Trice story is a funny one too. If you don't know who Obi Trice is, he was part of Eminem's crew, kind of coming up. He's in 8 Mile too. You'll actually see him in one of the rap things too. So Obi's, playing. He heard the story. So I didn't know he heard the story, but he heard the story of Wu-Tang when they came out. And they have this rider and make sure everything, because they're Muslim, and you have I had a chef that came out there, so you have to make sure things are halal and all that crap. So I had to make sure all that was right. So Obi heard the story from someone about that. So I get this Obi Trice rider, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, all right, green M&Ms in this bowl, red ones in this bowl, and like I start putting all this together. He goes, "I need I think he said an 18-year or 19-year-old hooker. I need this, I need that, or whatever." He shows up and all of it's there. And he looks at me and he goes, "What the?" He goes, "This is a joke." He goes, I was fucking with you. He's like, "That girl could be my daughter." I'm like, "Well,
don't send me a list.
anyone sends me a list, I make sure you have it." He talks to her for a while and then sends her home.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, that was Obi Trice. That was Obi Trice coming to the house. I'm like, I get these writers. I'm going to do everything on it. You want to make sure the artist has what he wants.
Right.
I always have a guy for something. If you don't have a guy for
I was
something,
just gonna say that Darrell's gonna make it happen if that's what needs to happen.
I
But
did
that's a
sort.
really
I
fun
did sort those
story.
M&Ms myself, by the way. I sorted those M&Ms myself.
Stuck his
though.
dirty fingers through all the M&Ms.
I sucked each one to make sure the colors were right. No.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
But yeah, that was one of the Obi Trice stories.
Yeah.
So you never know if he's going to show up there.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you've seen on one of those contracts? The writers.
Well, that was a fake one, but that would have been it. Yeah, the Wu-Tang one, it was
Wow.
just more food preferences and stuff that they had. So, and that was another one was, because and Ghostface is really strict to it. So he literally follows that whole thing. Killer Priest, on the other hand, I call him a fake Muslim. He'll drink alcohol. But they wanted us to take him to a strip club. So we took him to the Pantheon Club, which is pretty much an all-black strip club. So I bring these guys in. We have the corner reserved area. It was one of Melissa's friends ran the club, so I had a connection in there. And I'm in line getting in, and I hear this lady goes, "What are all these white folk with Wu-Tang? This makes no sense." And I'm like, "Because we paid for it." I was like, "Someone has to pay for them." I said it just like that, and I walked in. And because I was late, they were already in there. And so I get in there, and I get my tab already. I was only about 20 minutes late. I'm already $2,300 in on the tab from bottle service. I'm like, these guys aren't. Killer Priest was drunk, but Ghost didn't touch anything, but he's buying drinks for everyone on my tab. And at one point, Killer Priest passes out, and he's this big, huge guy. He was part of the Four Horsemen. He's an affiliate with Wu-Tang, but he's like close with Ghostface Killah. So like they're like close friends. That's why he brings him along all the time. So he's like passed out, and the strippers are getting pictures taken and putting their breast in his face, getting selfies with him, and he's out cold, of course. And he's just sitting there, and all of a sudden the manager comes by with a plate of lamb chops, like just piled high, and he brings it out there. Instantly, he perks up his eyes like he wasn't drunk at all, and just starts chowing. I mean, he just woke up out of a dead trance just because he smelled the food. And he just devoured it. That was the funniest thing. So that was another, obviously, Wu-Tang story. But
There's always a good story with Darrell.
Yeah.
Never lack. Never
No.
lack. And so there's new ones every time, too. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. It goes pretty
Please
deep.
Continue.
the funny part is, I don't take pictures. I don't do videos usually or anything like that. So it's
Yeah. Just
you
all
might-
up here. It's all up here.
It's all up here. And I always said, people are like, why don't you do that? Why don't you take pictures of all these? Why don't you get it? Because a lot of people get all their selfies with this and stuff. And it was a movie I watched with Ben Stiller. He plays like Life magazine editor. He's like the editor of it. I don't know if
The Life of
Walter Mitty.
I love
Yes,
that
The
movie.
Life of Walter
That's
Mitty.
a good one.
And he's trying to track down Sean Penn, who's the photographer, and he's going through all these adventures and stuff, doing all this stuff, and he finally gets to where Sean Penn's character is, and he's taking a picture of this like white leopard in the thing, and finally see it, something you'll never see, and Walter Mitty's there, which is Ben Stiller's character, and they look at it, and he looks over and he goes, "Aren't you going to take that picture?" And Sean Penn goes, "Some things are just meant for your own mind." And that's, I kind of thought that in myself. I'm like, yeah, these are my memories.
Yeah.
So that's why I never really do videos or pictures and stuff. Unless someone else took them.
Right.
But
That's
that's about
interesting. No evidence that way either, besides your own mind.
That's
We're
the
getting
real
better.
That was all bullshit. Right?
Yeah,
It was
we're
a good
getting
story.
better though.
She's been taking pictures, so
We're
I
getting
get caught.
better.
I get caught in the background a lot every once in a while.
Yeah, and it's different. Things are legal, so we're like
Yeah.
at paid events.
For a long time, it was like, I did. Where's the books for Third Coast? What books? Everything was a donation. What are you talking about? We never got paid for anything. So there was none of that stuff.
Yeah. It's amazing where the industry's went, hasn't it? I mean, it's just crazy where we're at today versus where it was.
And I made it past the 7 years.
Yes. Yeah. Totally fine. Yeah. Well, it's awesome, guys.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys could come out. We
Anytime
got,
you want to have us, just let us know. She lives
for
local.
sure.
I don't.
Yeah, as I say, she's right here, right in our backyard. So that's awesome. I'm definitely we're gonna try some of this stuff out. we'll help promote this stuff for you too.
Yeah.
Not so much the hemp stuff, but definitely the stuff here.
That's right.
People can.
Well, you can't even get.
Can we get that in Michigan?
You can't get these like at the local stores. Like we have them in a lot of different states, and it's nice to be able to just go to the liquor store and get it. But we don't have that here in Michigan, so it's all of these products are going to be bought on the website, the Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, so you can have
Buy 'em
that
online?
stuff shipped right to your house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
But that's what's
Awesome.
nice. That's what makes it so awesome for people who don't have legal markets, is because you can get it delivered directly to your door.
And my guys don't look at, so I always say, it's competition within the brand, but like my partners on this are like, it's not competition because how much is this?
Depends on the sale. $29.99.
Yeah. So
Don't
how much are
quote me. I'd
gummies?
have to
How much
Google it.
how much are gummies in the THC market?
Exactly.
$5.
Right.
So are you gonna buy a $30 pack or are you gonna go get the real THC stuff for $5?
Get the real stuff. You're gonna get the real stuff. But the states where you can't,
Yeah.
you have the option, right?
that
So,
does.
yeah. So they're
I
definitely
mean, we
not competing.
honestly, if you want to talk products at all Cheech and Chong, that would take like an entirely different podcast session
Yes.
because we have so many things within that. We've got the Kratom line, we've got our Blazer flower. Like we have an entire thing for people to shop from, following all the legal rules that you can have delivered directly to your door. And it's great because some people don't want to have a dispensary visit experience. They're still either scared or intimidated, or they don't feel like they fit the crowd. This gives them an opportunity to shop directly at home online.
Well, it's the whole Amazon thing now, right? I mean, people are people are getting their groceries. You just order them online, get them delivered to your door. I mean, nobody, I mean, hardly anybody wants to go to the store anymore anyway, unless they want that picking experience. Or you got all these states that are not legalized, recreational too. So you have the same option. So that's awesome. So
Yeah.
So is it like when a Playboy magazine shows up in a brown paper bag, you can't tell what it is? Does that show up in the?
is that how they show up?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's good. That's was going to be my question.
Back in the
there.
day, they always
I don't
say
know. You
discreet,
tell me.
discreet form, but
Yeah, in a box, just like an Amazon delivery.
in a box that says Cheech and Chong. Or no?
No,
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
no, they do the brown.
Discreetness, just
Yeah.
a brown box. Okay.
Yes. hmm
Awesome.
Weed.
But I'm gonna have to come back with the storm. I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now called forever. Is it a she or?
Should we do the storm? Maybe we should do the storm on the podcast. You can do the storm on the podcast.
That's exactly.
I
what
can do
was
it remotely.
suggesting there. Yes.
You guys got a bedroom here?
Maybe you have to actually
pass
come
out.
pick you up from your house and bring you in. That way we can go drop you back off. And we're done with the storm.
We'll just have to.
Then we'll have to hear the stories that come out of my mouth. You never know.
This, I want more. I always want to hear
I didn't
more
hear
of
anything
these.
coming out of your mouth that day you hit the storm. There was nothing coming out.
No,
So
there's nothing coming
no, there was stuff coming out.
Right.
But it wasn't
No,
words.
it wasn't words.
No.
No stories.
So, but no, thanks guys. Thanks for coming on. We look forward. Let's do some more stuff. I think we should. We need to. We get been doing a lot of on-site stuff too. So maybe we'll go down. You guys get some on-site stuff going, and Tommy's in town or something, or
Yeah,
you
this
got, like,
summer
Hash Bash
we're
stuff.
fighting to get them out this summer, so we'll see if we can get them out. We're one of the big sponsors for Taco Fest, which is coming up in at Royal Oak. They shut down all the streets in Royal Oak. So 4th of July week, and we actually have a Cheech and Chong stage. So there's 3 music stages, and one of them's a Cheech and Chong stage. Wow. So there's a full consumption area, things like that. So yeah, we could do it on site at an event like that even.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
for sure. Okay.
Just don't get video of me doing the taco eating competition. I lost last year, but I'm gonna prepare for this year.
Did you really enter?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I lost. I don't know how that person. I was close. I
How
mean,
did
I was
that
getting there
happen?
close, but they're not good tacos.
That's sinful. Why?
Because they make them so they're easy to eat or something. I don't know. It's just
No,
like
that
it's
makes sense.
condado tacos, but it wasn't. It's like they made, to me, it was like a Taco Bell soft taco
Oh,
Okay.
they made crappy tacos for the taco competition.
because they needed so many of them.
Yeah.
How many did
Nice.
you eat? Like, what's the?
It was a speed thing.
Oh, a speed thing.
So you had 3. So that was the one. You had 3 tacos you had to eat as quick. Whoever finishes the first, and you can't use your hands. Yeah, exactly. And it's a soft taco.
You can't use your hands?
Oh no, I had meat shoved up my nose.
We're,
it
of
was-
course we're getting this on video. I mean, why are you even bothering to continue with this? It's happening.
I already got my partner lined up, which is one of the Jars guys, because he did well. He was in it too, but neither one of us. And then they have a partners one. So I said, all right, this year we're going to partner together. So me and one of the Jars guys.
Are you guys going to be out at Hash Bash this year?
We might swing out,
Might have
yeah.
to be,
Swing
yeah.
out, see who's all there. What's going on? It's coming up in April, right?
Yeah.
Coming
So
up.
first Saturday in April, if you want to see Tommy, though, you got to be there before noon. You'll see him speak at noon at the Diag, so downtown.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Not the Monroe Street Fair, not the Hash Bash Cup, the actual Hash Bash at the Diag.
Okay.
So there's 3 simultaneous events that happen.
I see.
Oh, okay.
But the actual Hash Bash, which is the 54th, I think it's the 54th
so.
annual. Yeah, it's the longest running cannabis event.
Cannabis protest.
Protest. It's not an event, it's a protest. It used to only be from high noon to 1. Now it's from high noon till 4:20.
Oh,
That would make sense. Yeah. Weird.
sweet. Well, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll
thank
we'll sit down to Hash Bash. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
We'll do our line of
Thank
CBD
you.
a little later.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.